In this video, I want to look at setting up a game of Corvette Command and a short playthrough. I start by randomly mixing the Western approaches counters. I place them on the chart, being very careful not to reveal the underside. I've already placed the air gap counters. Then all that's left is to place the Canadian counters. You'll notice that we don't place any counters on the 3 port sections. Now I'm going to set up the Corvette mat. As you can see, I rolled a d6 for each of the 6 skills, starting with ASDIC. As stated in the rules, where I've rolled a 6, that skill starts with 2 skill points. Anything else starts with 1 skill point. Before each convoy, I select 2 Type 9 U-boat cards at random. I know they're face up in this photograph, it's just to show you that it's a Type 9. Normally I wouldn't see what the values are on these cards. And I shuffle them in to the Type 7 U-boat pack. I place the assignment card, the convoy pack and the U-boat pack face down at the top of my Atlantic mat. I turn over the assignment card, and here I've drawn the Northern Channel in and out of Liverpool. I've drawn a slow convoy which will start from St John's. Don't forget, for your first convoy you can choose whether you start at Liverpool or whether you start at one of the Canadian ports. I've chosen to start in Canada, and I've placed my red convoy marker in the port of St John's. Finally, I put the weather counter in place at the top of the mat. With the setup finished, I'm now ready to start my first convoy. And the first thing I have to do is to roll for the weather. I rolled a 2 on a d20, and that means I've got good weather leaving St John's. On moving into the new sector, I rolled 1 black dice and 1 white dice. Black dice are positive, white dice are negative, and I end up with a negative number. This means the weather changes from good to poor. I now roll for mechanical breakdown, and luckily nothing happens. I reveal the underside of the counter, and wouldn't you know my luck, first convoy out of St John's and I run into a U-boat straight away. I have dealt with the detection of U-boats in another shorter video, so suffice to say that I have rolled to see whether this U-boat's on the surface and whether it's day or night, and it's night time and it's submerged, so I'm going to attack. I turn over the top card on the U-boat deck when I've drawn a Type 7. As you can see from his attack, he prefers to attack from long range where possible, but will close to medium range if the weather demands it, and because we're in poor weather he is going to have to close to medium range. I've made a note that his evade skill is 3, and as he's attacking from medium range there'll be no other modifiers. I've made a separate video of the ASDIC tracking of submarines, so I'll deal with this fairly quickly here. I've got an ASDIC skill of 2, which is the active skill. His evade skill is the passive skill of 3. Going down the 2 column and across on the 3 row, you'll see that I need 9 or less on a d20. I roll a 6. I move closer to the U-boat, back to the resolution table. My ASDIC skill of 2 now becomes 3 for +1 for close range. I'd add on another 3 for having already detected the U-boat, so I've now got an active skill of 6 and the U-boat skill remains the same at 3. I need to roll 13 or less on a d20, but unfortunately I roll 17. The U-boat will now move back to medium range. Because I've lost contact, my ASDIC skill goes back to the active skill of 2. The U-boat is at 3, so I need 9 or less to pick him up again at medium range, and as luck would have it, I roll a 9. So with +1 for close range and +3 for having already detected the U-boat, my active skill is 6. The U-boat is 3, I need 13 or less, and I roll a 4. Because my depth charge skill at 1 is not greater than the U-boat's evade skill, I have to roll a d10. I then roll the d10 with 4d6. The 4d6 represent the depth charges in my pattern, and for each d6 that matches my d10, I score 1 point of damage on the U-boat. That 1 point of damage means that the U-boat will not be able to attack the convoy again. If I was short of depth charges, I would break off the attack now, but as it is, I'm going to try and detect the U-boat again and carry out another depth charge attack. Dropping depth charges means that I lose ASDIC contact for 10 minutes while the sea settles down. But I am still at close range, so I have an active skill of 2 plus 1 for close range, 3. The U-boat has an evade skill of 3. 3 versus 3 is 10, and I roll an 8. Here go the depth charges again. I roll a 4 on my d10, and 2 of my d6s come up 4 as well, so that's another 2 points of damage that the U-boat has to take. As it's still early in this convoy, and I don't know what I might encounter further across the Atlantic, I decide to save my depth charges and leave the attack at that. If I'd been able to score all 3 points of damage with just one pattern, that U-boat would now be a possible sinking. As it is, it slinks away and tries to summon the rest of the wolf pack. It rolls a d6. It rolls a 3, and under normal circumstances that would mean I would now have to face another U-boat. However, I get 1 point of DRM for each point of damage that the U-boat has suffered. 3 minus 3 is 0. No U-boats. Nothing much happens in the next 3 sectors. I roll for weather in each sector and for mechanical breakdown, but there's nothing dramatic happens. However, in the 4th sector, I get a random event, and I roll a 14 on a d20 and I get Splice the main brace. After the next particularly violent storm, the CO promises a tot of rum to the crew. At your next good weather sector, the rum is passed out. Apply a happy crew counter to the ship's mat. Exchange this counter for a re-roll of any 1 dice for this convoy. That's going to come in handy. But as things turn out, I don't get to use my counter because nothing happens for the rest of the convoy. The weather changes. I do get snow fog, and I do have to check for any collisions, but there are no collisions between either the convoy or myself and any of the convoy ships. And there are no mechanical breakdowns. I make it into Liverpool in fog. Again, I check for convoy collisions and for collision with myself, but nothing happens. In my next video, I'll deal with what happens at the end of a convoy in arrival at port.